she's the worst person to hang out with, though. Because she'll do something amazing, like come up here and host and make you guys all happy, and then walk backstage like, everybody hates me. Kind of starting to hate her for it. I know you guys are thinking, oh no, Bruno Mars got fat! My name's Ortiz, how we doing tonight? Good host. Yeah, I know you're too busy laughing. This is what's going on over there. My name's Ortiz. I'm originally from Los Angeles, but I moved to the South about 15 years ago. Because I'm a masochist, I guess. The thing that I didn't realize that was so difficult about living in the South was being all my white friends, only black friends. Yeah, especially when you're Mexican. And the thing is, I'm not even Mexican. I'm about as Mexican as the Baja Blast at Taco Bell. You know what I always say though, you gotta live mas. You gotta live mas. I grew up in an interesting time and place in Los Angeles. I know I look young, but I'll tell you guys, I'm a lot older than you would imagine. Like I gotta worry about my booty hole all the time. Like I do. The one thing I will tell you that I do know is that fat don't crack. Fat don't crack. And me and my dating life are very glad for that. Anyways, when I was a kid, I grew up in Los Angeles, right? And it was an interesting time and place because there was a lot of crime. Any criminals in the house? Any criminals? Where are my criminals at? No, I never got into crime. Because I saw like a lot of crime too. I saw like robberies and like drive-bys. I saw like the OJ trial. The first 3 Star Wars. You know what I mean? Crimes. But every criminal that I knew was the biggest idiot in the history of time. Like my brother's best friends got arrested for trying to rob a bank. They tried to rob a bank by making a map of the bank. Of the bank! In front of the security guard! The 73-year-old security guard came out and was like, are you boys trying to rob the bank? And they were like 16, so they were like, yeah. So he took them in the back and called their mom. And their mom had to go pick them up from the bank. And your boys were gonna rob this bank. She's like, I'm gonna spank them. And then they got a ticket. That's actually a good move. That's a good move. Getting a ticket for robbing a bank. Anyways, needless to say, our parents weren't very good. Anybody else have bad parents? Yeah, we're at the PG-13 show because of childhood trauma. No, I will not tear my mom down. My mom went through so much to get through this country. She like left war and like climbed through the desert and like dug a hole. I don't know how she got here. And but she had to live in this country she did not understand. And she is the child of immigrants. You have grace because they'll beat you if you don't. And they don't. I'm big. Anyways. So my mom, she was like, okay, these boys need a boogeyman. You know, who had a boogeyman growing up? Anybody have a boogeyman? You know, your parents would be like, hey, if you leave your stuff outside, the boogeyman's gonna... Yeah, you remember that? My mom tried to do that, but she didn't quite understand the concept, you know? So she just picked the name out of the news. So at night, she would stick her head in my room, look me dead in the eyes and go, if you leave your bike outside, Richard Ramirez is gonna come take it. Now, you don't know who Richard Ramirez is. He's a world-famous serial killer named the Night Stalker, who at the time was murdering children in my neighborhood. I had bad parents. I say that because I only had one parent, and I don't want to explain that on stage. But like, do you remember the moment you realized that your parents was bad? Anybody? Right, when I wrote that sentence in my head, is that what it was? I can remember the exact moment that I realized I have bad parents. I was 6 years old. I was in the back of a pickup truck, dressed as Batman, the cool one, the Adam West Batman. Yeah. It was 2 in the morning, and we were on our way to Vegas. On our way to Vegas at 2 in the morning, dressed as Batman, I thought to myself, man, maybe my mom shouldn't have had kids. Maybe mom should have waited. I don't know how it works. Anyways, I was 6. So anybody here, any Vegas people? Any people who love Vegas? Where are my drunk friends at? Where are you at? Alcoholics, yeah. Vegas is a place, I don't know if you've ever been to Vegas, but this was the first time I'd ever been to Vegas. And it was 2 in the morning, and so you know, there's only one place in Las Vegas that you can bring your children to at 2 in the morning. Now, I don't normally want you guys to say a word while I'm up here, but if you know the place I'm talking about, scream it at me right now. The freaking Circus! You guys, Las Vegas had a casino in the 80s called the Circus, where you could bring your children and put them in the play area and just leave. You could just leave your children and never look back, unless you need to borrow money against them. The white kids are working. I don't make their rules. I don't make the rules. So I was in the play area, and I was a fat kid when I was little, I know you can tell, and so I like the ball pit. Why? Because the ball pit was the only place in the play area where you could just lay down, and technically you were playing. And so I was there, playing, and I did exactly what I do every 2.5 to 3 hours of my life. I got a little snacky. So I was like, all right, let's go look for snacks. Now remember, I'm 6 years old and I'm dressed as Batman. And I walk around the casino a little bit. And I'm like, oh, this has arrows towards it. So I get to these double doors and I push open these double doors. And the music from the sky is like, hallelujah, hallelujah. And there's God lighting. Because I had never walked into a place like this Valhalla that I discovered. You guys, I'd never heard of or seen an all-you-can-eat buffet. My little tiny brain was like, you could just have anything you want in here? Nobody was there to stop me. I was like, you're telling me that there's a place that has a fountain made of shrimp where I can eat all the shrimp right next to a fountain full of chocolates where I can dip my hand. Needless to say, I did a little too much. It's not my fault, fountains. I don't know what that means either. So I ate all this terrible stuff, right? And I'm like, I'm a good kid, so I'm going back to the ball pit just in case anything happens. So I go back to the ball pit. I'm 2 seconds into the ball pit, my stomach's like, uh-oh. And I start to get the bubbles. You know the bubbles? Because the bubbles they feel fun, but they mean that lots of not fun is about to happen. So then I start to get the little farts, and that's when you know you're in trouble. That's when you know, and I'm wearing a cape, so it's just like, psst. So I get out of the ball pit. When I get out of the ball pit, I'm like, I'm gonna hurl. And you know what happens when you need to hurl, right? It's like your brain goes, I need to find my mommy. So I can look her dead in the eyes while I hurl. But, she was in the casino, so I walked into the casino thinking I would find her there. But right when I walked into the casino, I got hit with that waft of air. You know what I'm talking about? Like the smell of feet, cheese, and broken dreams. And I was like, I'm gonna throw up. So I looked for the nearest exit, and I looked at the nearest exit, and I take off running as fast as I can. I can only imagine what it was like to be an alcoholic in the 90s, or in the 80s, seeing a little fat Batman running through a casino at 2 in the morning. But right as I get to the door, I throw up all over the door. And I throw up on the ground. Then I open the door, and I go outside, and I throw up some more. This is where I like to stop and tell you guys this is a completely true story. Because at that moment, 2 robbers were robbing the Circus. 2 robbers had walked into the Circus, taken all the money off of a table, and then taken off that same door. Robber number 1 glides through my vomit, smashes in the vomit on the door. Robber number 2 glides through my vomit, smashes into robber number 1, and both robbers go through the door and land on vomit number 3. Right behind the 2 robbers. were two cops, guns drawn, chasing the robbers. Cop number 1 slides through my vomit. Cop number 2 slides through my vomit. Both of them simultaneously go through the door and land on top of the 2 robbers. And then there's 2 cops with their guns out, laying on top of the robbers, and they look over, and there I am. That cop looked at me, I looked at him, and the cop said, "Oh my God, he's real!" And I was a little brown kid, so I said, "Oh my God, it's a cop!" And I ran. You guys, I know this whole time you've been thinking, "Oh no, that little Mexican kid from Modern Family needs to go to rehab." But my name's